3 weeks after I buried my husband of 42 years, his attorney called me at 7 in the morning. "I need you to come to my office today, Margaret. Alone. Don't tell anyone." My coffee cup froze halfway to my lips. Martin had been Tom's lawyer since before we were married. He didn't do drama. He didn't call at dawn. And he certainly didn't use that tone unless something was seriously wrong. "Is it about the salon?" I asked, my voice shaking. "About Tom's estate? Just come in at 9. Park in the back. Use the side entrance." He hung up before I could ask anything else. I sat at my kitchen table, the same table where Tom and I had shared breakfast every morning for 4 decades, and tried to make sense of it. The funeral had been 3 weeks ago. The salon was running fine. Rachel, my sister-in-law, had taken over the day-to-day operations while I grieved, just like we'd planned. Everything was supposed to be settling down. I was supposed to be healing, but my hands wouldn't stop shaking as I got dressed. I chose a navy pantsuit, the one Tom always said made me look professional but warm. I needed armor today, even if I didn't know why. Martin's office was in a brick building downtown Portland, the kind with old wood paneling and brass fixtures that made you feel like you were stepping back in time. I parked in the back like he'd asked, and took the side stairs. The receptionist wasn't at her desk. The waiting room was empty. "Margaret." Martin appeared in his doorway, and I barely recognized him. He looked like he'd aged 5 years in 3 weeks. "Come in. Lock the door behind you." My stomach dropped. He gestured to a chair across from his massive oak desk. Between us sat a manila envelope, unsealed. Next to it was a letter in Tom's handwriting. I'd know that handwriting anywhere, the way he made his capital M's with an extra flourish, the way his T's tilted slightly to the right. "Martin, what is this?"
The path to
I
success
whispered.
isn't always
He
linear,
slid the envelope
but
toward
with dedication
me.
and
3
clarity,
days ago, Rachel
you can
came to see
navigate
me.
any challenge.
She brought these papers. I opened the envelope with trembling fingers. Inside were legal documents, official-looking forms with the state seal at the top. I started reading. Petition for guardianship. Incapacitated person. Margaret Ellen Cooper. Petitioner. Rachel Lynn Cooper. My vision blurred. I had to read it 3 times before the words made sense. "She's filing to have you declared mentally incompetent," Martin said quietly. "She claims you have advancing dementia, that you can't manage your finances or make decisions about the salon. She wants to be appointed your legal guardian. But I don't have dementia." I looked up at him, tears streaming down my face. "I'm grieving, but I'm not incompetent. Martin, you know me. You've known me for 43 years. I know." He pushed a tissue box toward me. "That's why Tom left me very specific instructions." He slid the letter across the desk. It was dated 6 months before Tom died, before the cancer diagnosis, before everything fell apart. My hand trembled as I picked it up. "Dearest Margaret," it began, and I had to stop because I could hear Tom's voice saying those words. "If Martin is showing you this letter, then Rachel has done exactly what I feared she would do. I'm so sorry, my love. I wanted to be wrong about my sister." I looked up at Martin. He knew? 6 months ago, he knew she would do this? "Keep reading. I've watched Rachel these past few years," Tom wrote. "The way she looks at the books, the way she asks about the trust structure, the way she talks about what's best for you with that tone I've heard her use on her own husband when she wants something. I've seen her research guardianship laws. I found the printouts in the recycling at the salon. Margaret, I need you to listen carefully. Rachel has been planning this. She thinks that once I'm gone, she can convince people you're too grief-stricken to manage things. She thinks she can take the salon. She thinks she can control our assets. But I've prepared for this. Go to the safe in our bedroom. The combination is our wedding date. Inside, you'll find a USB drive. Martin knows what to do with it. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you while I was alive. I kept hoping I was wrong. I kept hoping my own sister wouldn't actually do this. But if you're reading this, then I wasn't wrong. And you need to protect yourself. I love you forever. Fight for what's ours. Tom. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely hold the paper. Martin, what's on the USB drive? Security footage. From cameras Tom had installed in the salon 6 months ago. Cameras Rachel doesn't know about. He pulled out his laptop and turned it toward me. I've watched it all. Would you like to see? I nodded, even though I wasn't sure I wanted to know. The first video showed Rachel in my office after hours, going through the filing cabinets. The date stamp said it was from 4 months ago, when Tom was in the hospital for his first round of chemo. She was photographing documents, financial records, the trust papers, everything. The second video was from 2 months ago, Rachel on the phone in the supply room. I couldn't hear what she was saying, but Martin had already had it enhanced. He played the audio. "I need documentation that she's incompetent," Rachel was saying. "No, she's fine right now, but he's not going to make it much longer. Once he's gone, she'll fall apart. I just need a doctor who'll sign off." "No, I can't wait. The will is airtight. But if she's declared incompetent before the estate settles, I can petition as guardian. The salon's worth $2.3 million, and that's not counting the property." "Yes, I've been managing it for 20 years. It should have been mine anyway." I felt like I'd been slapped. 20 years. Rachel had worked at my salon for 20 years. We'd hired her when she was going through her divorce. We'd given her a job, a purpose, a family. And this whole time, "There's more," Martin said gently. The third video was from 3 weeks ago, 2 days after Tom's funeral. Rachel meeting with someone in the salon parking lot. A man in a suit. Martin paused the video and zoomed in on the paperwork they were exchanging. "That's Dr. Kenneth Morrison. He's a physician who's been under investigation for signing questionable competency
In my time leading this
evaluations.
department,
He
I've learned
charges
that true innovation
$20,000
often
to
comes from
declare someone
unexpected
mentally
places.
unfit.
It's about
Rachel
empowering your
paid him
team
with
to
a check
explore
from
new
the salon's
ideas.
account. From our account? But how? You gave her signatory authority 5 years ago. Remember? Tom had suggested it. For emergencies. I remembered. We'd trusted her. She was family. Martin played the video. I watched Rachel hand over a manila envelope. I watched the doctor flip through photographs, documents, notes. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but their body language was clear. This was a transaction. The fourth video made me gasp out loud. It showed Rachel at my house, in my kitchen, on the day of Tom's funeral. While I was upstairs changing clothes between the service and the reception, Rachel was downstairs going through the drawers, searching for something. She found Tom's pill bottles, the ones from his cancer treatment. She poured some pills into a plastic bag and pocketed them. What? Why would she? I couldn't finish the sentence. We think she was planning to plant them somewhere, to suggest you're taking medications inappropriately, or maybe to suggest you're confused about medications. Martin's face was grim. Tom anticipated this, Margaret. That's why he documented everything. How long did he know? He came to me 9 months ago. Said he'd found some concerning things. We set up new security, restructured the trust, made sure that if anything like this happened, you'd be protected. He paused. He was a good man. He loved you very much. I couldn't speak. I just sat there, watching video after video. Rachel scheduling meetings with real estate agents about selling the salon property. Rachel meeting with competitors, offering them inside information. Rachel telling her friends that she'd be running things soon, that I was losing it, that Tom had always intended for her to take over. In one video from just 5 days after the funeral, Rachel was in my office on the phone again. "Margaret's completely out of it," she was saying. "She cries all day, can't remember conversations. Left the stove on twice last week. It's textbook dementia, combined with the grief. Yes, I'll have the paperwork ready. Once she's declared incompetent, I'll petition for guardianship. Then we can liquidate the assets and..." She'd laughed. She'd actually laughed. Tom always treated me like the employee instead of family. This is just karma. I wanted to throw up. This was Tom's sister, my sister-in-law for 42 years, the woman who'd been in our wedding, who'd cried at Tom's funeral, who'd hugged me and told me we'd get through this together. Martin turned off the laptop. "I'm sorry you had to see that. What do I do?" My voice came out as a whisper. Tom prepared for that too. He pulled out another folder. "Your assets are protected in an irrevocable trust. Rachel can't touch them even if she somehow gets guardianship, which she won't. The salon is owned by a corporation with you as the sole shareholder. I'm the backup trustee. If anyone tries to declare you incompetent, these videos become evidence of elder abuse and fraud. What about the salon? Rachel's been running it. She's been embezzling. Martin showed me spreadsheets. We've had a forensic accountant review everything. Over the past 6 months, she's siphoned off about $85,000 through fake vendor accounts and inflated supply orders. Tom caught it. That's what triggered his investigation. $85,000, 20 years of family, gone. For money. What does Tom's will say? I asked. Martin opened another folder. The salon and all business assets go to you, obviously. There's a trust fund for your grandchildren's education. Tom left Rachel exactly $1 and a letter. $1? He wanted to make it clear she wasn't forgotten. She was deliberately excluded. He pulled out another sealed envelope. This is for her. Tom asked that I deliver it only if she filed the guardianship papers. She filed them 3 days ago. What does it say? I don't know. He sealed it himself. But he told me it explains everything. He said Rachel would understand. I took the envelope. It was heavy, expensive paper. Tom had written Rachel's name on the front in his careful handwriting. Part of me wanted to open it. Part of me never wanted to know what he'd said to his sister. When is the guardianship hearing? I asked. 2 weeks. But Margaret, I don't think it'll get that far. Once I present this evidence to Rachel and her attorney, once they see what we have, I want to face her. The words came out steady, stronger than I felt. I want to look her in the eye. Are you sure? Martin looked concerned. That might not be wise. Tom spent 6 months preparing for this. He knew I'd need to be strong. I need to do this for him. I need to do it for me. Martin studied me for a long moment, then nodded. I'll arrange a meeting. The meeting was set for the next day. Martin's conference room. Rachel arrived with her attorney, a slick young man in an expensive suit who'd probably taken her case on contingency, expecting a big payout. Rachel's face when she saw me was perfect. Surprise, then concern, then that fake sympathy she'd been using for weeks. Margaret, honey, you didn't need to come. This is just procedural,
I'm glad
just
you're
to
here
protect
to learn
you.
about this new
I
initiative.
sat down across from her.
I'm confident
practiced
it will
in the
bring
mirror that
positive
morning.
changes to our
I'd
community.
practiced staying calm. 20 years, Rachel. 20 years you worked at our salon. She glanced at her attorney. Margaret, I know you're upset, but this is really for your own good. You haven't been yourself since Tom passed. We all understand that. Grief affects the mind. And at your age, I'm 65, Rachel. I have a master's degree in business administration. I've run that salon successfully for 38 years. I don't have dementia. Her attorney started to speak, but Martin held up a hand. Before we begin, I'd like to show you something. He opened his laptop. I watched Rachel's face as the videos played, watched the blood drain from her cheeks, watched her hands start to shake, watched her attorney go from confident to horrified. That's, she started to say, but her voice cracked. That's not what it looks like. Martin played the audio of her phone call. Her own voice. The salon's worth $2.3 million. It should have been mine anyway. Her attorney put his head in his hands. We have 47 hours of footage, Martin said calmly. We have financial records showing embezzlement. We have documentation of elder abuse, attempted fraud, and conspiracy. We also have testimony from Dr. Morrison, who decided cooperating with authorities was preferable to losing his medical license. Rachel, I said, and she looked at me with tears streaming down her face. Why? She didn't answer, just stared at the table. Tom knew, I continued. 6 months before he died, he knew what you were planning. He set up cameras. He restructured everything to protect me. He left you this. I slid the envelope across the table. Her hands trembled as she opened it. I'd read it that morning with Martin's permission. I watched her face as she read Tom's words. Dear Rachel, it said, if you're reading this, you did exactly what I feared you would do. You saw my wife's grief as an opportunity. You saw my death as your chance. I've watched you become someone I don't recognize. The sister I grew up with, who used to share her lunch money with kids who forgot theirs, who volunteered at the shelter every weekend, who cried at movies and laughed at dad jokes. Where did she go? I know you've been bitter about the salon. I know you felt you deserved ownership after 20 years. But Rachel, we gave you a job when you had nothing. We gave you a salary, benefits, profit sharing. We treated you like family because you are family. But this? Trying to steal from my widow? Trying to declare my wife of 42 years incompetent so you can take what we built together? This isn't about the money, is it? This is about pride. This is about feeling overlooked. I'm leaving you $1. Not because I hate you, but because I want you to know this was a choice. You were not forgotten. You were deliberately excluded. And you know why. I hope someday you find your way back to being the person you used to be, the person who helped people instead of using them. Until then, stay away from Margaret. She deserves better than this betrayal. Your brother, who loved you but couldn't trust you, Tom. Rachel was sobbing now, the letter crumpled in her fist. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry. I've worked there for 20 years. 20 years, and I'm still just the employee. I watched you build that place, watched you succeed, and I was just family, I finished. You were just my sister-in-law, just someone I trusted, just someone I loved. Her attorney was already packing his briefcase. Miss Cooper, I have to advise you to retain criminal counsel. Given the evidence of embezzlement and fraud, I held up my hand. Martin, can we have the room? Margaret, Martin said carefully. I don't think. Please. He and the attorney left. Rachel and I sat alone in the conference room, separated by 30 years of history and 3 weeks of betrayal. Do you remember when Tom and I got married? I asked her. You were his only sibling. You stood up there with us. You cried during the vows. You told me I was the sister you'd always wanted. She nodded, still crying. Do you remember when you got divorced? We gave you a job, not because we needed another employee, but because you needed purpose. You needed family. We made you manager. We included you in everything. I know, she whispered. And when Tom got sick, you held my hand at the hospital. You brought me food when I forgot to eat. You told me we'd get through it together. I took a deep breath. At what point did you decide to destroy me instead? She was silent for a long moment. It wasn't one moment. It was gradual. I'd see the numbers. The salon makes 6 figures profit a year. The property alone is worth millions. And I'd think about my apartment, my car that's 10 years old, my retirement account that's basically nothing. She looked up at me.
About how
I
dedication
convinced
and
myself I deserved
truly
it,
change the
that I'd
trajectory
earned
of your
it,
career.
that you wouldn't
It
even
started about
notice if
10
I
years
took a
ago,
little here
right
and
here
there.
in this office.
But it wasn't a little, was it? No. She shook her head. It got easier. The fake invoices, the inflated numbers, the cash payments that went into my account instead of the business. And then Tom died, and I saw my chance to get everything. She covered her face with her hands. What's wrong with me? What kind of person does this? Someone who forgot what actually matters, I said quietly. Are you going to press charges? She looked at me with red, swollen eyes, waiting for judgment. Tom wanted to protect me, I said. He set up everything so you couldn't hurt me. But he also left you that letter. He hoped you'd find your way back. I paused. I'm going to give you a choice, Rachel. You can fight this. Take it to court. Let everyone see those videos, hear those recordings, watch you try to destroy your brother's widow for money. Or what? Or you sign over all rights to the salon. You repay every penny you embezzled. You enter therapy. You stay away from me for at least a year. And maybe, someday, if you do the work to become someone trustworthy again, we can talk about being family again. She stared at me. Why would you give me that option? After everything I did? Because Tom loved you. And because I remember who you used to be. I'm not sure that person still exists. But if she does, she deserves a chance to come back. I stood up. But Rachel, if you betray this chance, if you come near me or the salon or try anything else, I will prosecute you for every single crime on those videos. Do you understand? She nodded, tears streaming down her face. I understand. Martin drew up the papers. Rachel signed everything. The guardianship petition was withdrawn. She agreed to a payment plan for the embezzled funds. She entered therapy. She moved to Seattle a month later. I kept the salon, promoted my head stylist to manager, implemented new financial controls, started monthly audits. The business thrived. But the hardest part wasn't the business. It was the grief. Not just for Tom, though I missed him every single day, but grief for the family I thought I had. Grief for 20 years of memories that were now tainted. Grief for the sister-in-law who'd helped me pick out my wedding dress, who'd held my babies, who'd been part of every major moment of my life. I found a good therapist. Learned that you can hold 2 truths at once, Rachel did betray me, and Rachel was once someone I loved. Both things can be true. 6 months after everything happened, I was at the salon doing paperwork when I heard the door chime. I looked up. Rachel stood in the doorway, holding a small plant. "I know I'm not supposed to be here," she said quietly. "I know you said a year, but I wanted to give you this. It's a peace lily. It's supposed to be hard to kill." She gave a sad smile. "Like the relationship I almost destroyed." I took the plant. "Thank you. I'm in therapy twice a week. I got a job at a salon in Seattle. I'm paying back the money. I'm trying." She looked at me with clear eyes. "No manipulation, no agenda. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't expect us to be family again. I just wanted you to know I'm trying to be the person Tom remembered. The person I used to be." I set the plant on my desk. "Sit down, Rachel." We talked for 2 hours. Really talked. She told me about her therapy, about confronting her bitterness and entitlement, about realizing she'd spent 20 years resenting me instead of building her own life, about understanding that Tom and I didn't owe her anything beyond what we'd already given. I told her about my grief, about missing Tom, about the betrayal feeling worse than the death sometimes, about having to relearn trust. We didn't hug, we didn't make promises, but when she left, I felt something shift. Not forgiveness, not yet, but maybe the possibility of it, someday. A year later, I invited her to Thanksgiving dinner. She came. We were polite, careful. She sat at the far end of the table, but she was there. 2 years later, she came to my grandson's graduation. She brought a gift. We had coffee afterward. 3 years later, we can talk on the phone without it being awkward. We're not who we were before. We'll never be that again. But we're something new, something built on honesty instead of obligation. I still have Tom's letter framed in my office, not Rachel's letter, but the one he left for me in the safe, the one that said, "Margaret, you're stronger than you know. Don't let anyone, not even my sister, make you doubt that. Protect what's ours. Protect yourself, but also remember that people can change if they choose to. Give them the chance, just not at the expense of your own safety." The peace lily sits on my desk. It blooms twice a year. Rachel was right. It's hard to kill. It bends when it needs water, but it straightens back up when you feed it. It's resilient. It survives. Some days I look at it and think about family, about how relationships can almost die but come back if you tend them carefully, about how trust, once broken, is like those leaves. It can grow again, but it'll never be quite the same shape as before. The salon is mine. Fully, legally, undeniably mine. I run it well. I make good decisions. I'm not incompetent, not confused, not diminished by grief. I'm just a woman who loved her husband, who was betrayed by family, and who chose to survive anyway. Tom protected me. Even from his deathbed, even knowing what was coming, he made sure I'd be okay. That's love. Real love. The kind that thinks ahead, that prepares, that shields you from harm even when it can't stay to fight the battles with you. I talk to him sometimes, out loud, in the empty salon after everyone goes home. I tell him about the business, about the grandchildren, about Rachel's slow journey back to being someone I can trust, about how much I miss him, about how angry I am that he's not here, about how grateful I am that he saw what was coming and protected me anyway. I think he'd be proud that I didn't crumble, proud that I fought back, proud that I'm giving Rachel another chance, but on my terms, not hers. Last week, Rachel called to tell me she's been promoted to manager at her Seattle salon. She was excited, proud. For the first time in years, she sounded like herself, like the woman I remembered, like Tom's little sister instead of the stranger who tried to steal my life. Maybe that's the real lesson here. People can break, relationships can shatter, trust can be destroyed. But if both people are willing to do the work, if both people choose honesty over comfort, healing over hurt, then maybe, just maybe, something new can grow from the wreckage. It won't be what it was. The scar tissue will always be there. But scars mean you survived. Scars mean you healed. And sometimes, that's enough. I water the peace lily every Thursday. It keeps blooming. It keeps surviving. Just like me.